All right, everybody, welcome back to the MKAU podcast. Today, we have a very, very special guest, and I've been giddy for the last 2.5 weeks that we're finally here. So, this is happening. You may know him from such things as The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, Fast and the Furious, Cowboys and Aliens, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's going to be appearing at the Supanova Comic Con and Gaming Convention in Sydney at the Sydney's Olympic Park Showgrounds, June 21st and 22nd, and in Perth, the Convention and Exhibition Centre on June 28th and 29th, both in 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my esteemed pleasure to welcome you here today, Mr. Brendan Wayne. How are you, sir?
Oh man, I'm beyond excited. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm not very impressed with myself, so the fact that you're excited, my kids often would disagree with you.
Oh, I'll talk to them. Now, just before I crack into your esteemed work that you've been doing thus far, is this your first trip to Australia? Have you been here before?
I have not, and I cannot. This is one of those things where you go, or at least I've always been that way, which is I've got to go. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
I've dreamed of it. It's funny. It might be the only reason I let my children watch H2O. I can't even remember it.
Oh,
With the
H2O.
mermaids,
Yes. Yeah.
just so I
Well,
could be like, oh, yeah. So it's my first time. My connection to Australia is funny because my boxing trainer,
yep.
um, got 2 decades, over 2 decades, took me in and tried to teach me not to get punched.
Mhm.
Uh, is a Perth native,
Mm.
Justin Fortune, who also trained Manny Pacquiao and many other champions. As a matter of fact, it was just a stud, and he was trained by Fennec and Lewis down there, and then went to Freddie Roach. So yeah, I have spent a lot of time with him. He's My kids have known him their whole lives, uh,
Yep.
even trained with him. So yeah, he's the people I've always met have always been an incredibly forthright and great people. People
Yeah.
I like to be around because they don't. They're not a bunch of flowery uh, BS, which you get a lot in LA. So it's very nice.
No, we're very down to earth here, and
I
I
love it.
speak on behalf of the Supernova Convention. The fanfare that has come since your announcement is unquestionable. So I know that you have a lot of Comic Con experiences. You've been to Star Wars celebrations, so I can only imagine that was insane. But no, we're all very excited down here to see you, my friend. I will give you the heads up though. Is there anything that you want to do while you're here? Do you have enough time to explore? Are you coming with family or is it very fly in, fly out for you?
No, I'm coming with my sister, who
Okay.
I never even would have made it to get married without her around.
Okay.
She's my big sister. She's always looked out for me, and I've gotten to a point where I get invited to some cool places, and
Mhm.
this is on her bucket list. And she was the one who taught me how to travel.
Yep.
Lived in Argentina with her for a while, so I'm very stoked. My sister Bridget's coming with me. The Supernova convention is incredible,
Mm,
for me, because um, they were like, "Hey, we want to make sure you have some time
mm.
to, you know, see Sydney, see some Perth."
Yep.
And it's funny because I was like, "Oh my God, this is uh, once in a lifetime that I have an opportunity to do this and do something I love, which is talk about the Mandalorian. I never
Yep.
get tired of it. So
Oh,
ask your
good.
questions.
Yes.
I'm going to do my best to make sure that I have a little slideshow going that I
Yep.
won't let you take any pictures of, but that are really cool, uh, from behind the scenes. So you'll recognize day one to, you know day last day in December.
Perfect. The heads up, you may get told while you're in Australia if you haven't been greeted by it already. There is a edible spread that we have here called Vegemite. You're probably aware of it. I'm gonna give you the heads up, man, because this happens a lot. Is that everyone sort of gets a spoon or just puts it straight on bread and goes, "Hey, what do you think?" And everyone goes, "No, it's tolerable with butter." So I want to give you the heads up if you do get drawn into that. Just go,
That's
I'm not doing it without butter, and then you'll actually maybe mildly enjoy it.
that is hilarious. So my trainer, Justin, and
Yeah,
another guy who trains me, Zach Garand, who's a training mate out here, which is a Australian created from
yeah,
these Aussies, just really good dudes.
yeah.
They talk about it as if it's the Vizslas coming down with the dark saber and the tablets and I know there's Vegemite and there's Marmite. What is it?
Marmite. Yep, Marmite.
Yeah,
That's another one.
and it was it's like yeah. I've tasted Vegemite and
Oh, you
I've
have? Okay. Yep.
mm,
Yeah.
but not with butter.
That's enough said.
So maybe I should have done it with butter.
Yeah, the is usually the grand consensus with that. Even us here, we're like, okay. So it's quite a journey. But speaking of
So
journeys, let's
wait,
get
why do the trainers love Vegemite so much? And I mean, like, this is universal. Is it because it's so healthy for you?
I think maybe on the label it says it has protein in it. I'm
Okay,
not sh
fair enough.
So they're like, yeah,
Creatine,
let's just eat this
steroids.
forever. Yeah. So it's not visually the best looking thing, but
Oh no,
it's
it
quite a
looks
journey.
like
But
baby poop.
yeah, we're proud of it, mate. But, s- but but speaking of journeys, the Mandalorian, um, I wanted to talk to you about that because that is, I mean, for yourself, it must be and continues to be such an insane ride, such an insane journey. This whole character, this whole evolution.
It,
I mean, for yourself, like how because that process, I mean, arguably that process doesn't just sort of pop up, on a casting sheet. Like how did that go from, I mean, you've already were quite established as an actor prior to this, so you wasn't like, oh, my first day on the office kind of a vibe, but how did that process for the Mandalorian come about for you? Was it like a casting call? Did someone say, hey, look, they're doing this? Like how did it happen for you?
it's truly weird. They had already cast somebody 6 months before I ever even
Okay.
got called,
Yep.
uh, who was in The Mandalorian quite a bit. Actually, still, he was a stuntman, and he's incredibly was Batman stuntman,
Yep.
Rich Citrone, and he is unreal. Like, just an incredible athlete, just absolutely across the board, great. Um, I think the fact that he was 6'5" might have worked against him,
Mhm.
and that he wasn't an actor per se, and
Okay.
that's what I was.
Yep.
So uh, I think what they realized was size matters
Okay.
here,
Yeah.
and for lack of a better term, uh, it worked out for me for the
Mm,
first time ever
mm.
to be well. All right, we'll just leave it there. So,
Okay.
so I didn't actually make that realization till right now. So you
Mm.
were part of a epiphany. So
Yes.
my agent. I mean, I've been working, but I wasn't. I mean, I bartended for 30 years. I literally bartended through the first season of The Mandalorian on the
Wow.
weekends because Hollywood's pretty fickle, so you never know. And
Right.
I was pretty late in the game to trust them,
Mm,
so I wasn't gonna give up a job I had for 22 years.
mm,
So uh, I it was pretty awe-inspiring, but I didn't know to be odd at this part of my life. And I would recommend to anybody who's about to take on some huge task they think in their head that's overwhelming to listen to this moment because the truth is this: I got called um, to go try on a costume.
mm.
And they weren't, it's a Disney thing. It might be an untitled Star Wars project. That's what it
Right.
was. It was
Okay.
on a
Yeah.
Friday. And for me, I'm a barman, so it's like, I'm not giving up a Friday unless I'm getting paid. That's
Yeah.
where I was in
Yeah.
my life. I had 3 kids. I had one who was about to go off to college, university, and
Mm.
I needed to make sure she had enough money.
Sure.
And so, yeah, a day, like even flying out to see her, going to her dorm, I didn't have the money. I didn't, rear hand to mouth. And
Mm.
so I I said to my agent, I was like, well, are they going to pay me? Because otherwise I'm not doing it. And
Mm.
he just got quiet. It's just that weird, like, uh, like I'm gonna have to convince you.
Mhm.
And he did. And he said, yes, they're gonna pay you. But I could tell he was like, are you out of your mind? You can't say no. I said, okay, then I'll go. Turned out that I could do both. So it was
Yep.
great. I was able to work and go and try this on. So I go over to this place in Glendale, which is not like glitzy Hollywood or Beverly Hills or whatever. And I'm
Mm.
out in Glendale. It's actually where my grandfather John Wayne's from. Went to high school
Yes.
out there.
Yes.
So I go out to this place, and it's not a great neighborhood.
Mm.
And I pull into the lot, and I'm like, oh, this building's clean at least. So I pull up, and I go to this place. They're like, this is called Legacy. So I didn't know. I'm like, bring myself in. They're like, you got to sign an NDA. I'm like, I'm just walking through the doors, guys. They're like, you got to
Yeah.
sign an NDA because you're going to
Mm.
see things. And sure enough, man, I walked in that door, and there was an actual avatar. And then there was Idris Elba, and in his costume, like up above here, up here,
Yep.
and um, now my jaw's like this, and they're
Yep.
these beautiful costumes, like,
Mm.
and I realize, and I'm getting goosebumps saying it, like, I realize I'm with true Hollywood royalty, things that
Sure.
make a difference. I assume to everybody in this universe because the costumes are as important as anything here, right?
Yep.
And so I'm looking around and I'm just like, holy, this
Yeah.
is
It's real
okay.
now. It's real. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, just deep breath, man. It doesn't matter. Like, they just want you to try on a costume,
Mm.
which is, like, I'm a 6 foot 180. So I've always been the guy who they're like, let's model clothes on you because you're the right sizes.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm sitting there waiting. Then they bring me into this room and they pop open this like travel box that's like heavy duty, and
Mm.
it looks kind of Star Warsy, but it just happens to be a box that looks Star Warsy. Pop it open, I look at it, I'm like, Boba Fett. Oh my god,
Yeah.
yes. And they're like, no. I'm like, yes, it is. It's Boba. And they're like, yes. I'm like, no, it's Boba. And they're like, stop saying it. They were so angry with me. They're pulling it out, and it's the original, so it's got some brown in it. I'm like,
Oh,
it's a little
perfect.
different. It's not as
Yep.
green, but maybe I'm just off.
Mm.
Um, Put it on. I'm like, hey, I signed an NDA, guys. I'm not telling anybody, but this is awesome. I get to put on Boba Fett. And they're like, shut up. So I put on the costume,
Yeah.
and I guess the big thing was me getting the helmet on, right? Because it was made for a different guy who's 6'5".
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thankfully, Rich is incredibly athletic
Mm.
and is fit. So I wasn't putting it on for like a 6'5" monster.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was so it was really just that it was a little long here and there.
Mm.
Might it was big. He was bigger in the chest, um, but the helmet fit.
Okay.
And they were like, huh? I'm like, yeah, let's just put a pad here. And I made adjustments right there, and they were able to do it. That's how great they are.
Yeah.
And they put me in the thing, and then they took pictures of me. It was incredible. Like, they were like, you could tell that there was something that changed with them. When I
Mm.
came in, they were like annoying. And by the end of it, they were like, you're not annoying, and you might be the guy. And they
Yeah.
kept saying, you're the guy, you're the guy. I'm like, dude, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I didn't get a script, so I don't know if it's a show or a movie or a background artist.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
no idea. I don't
Mm.
even know how it works.
Yeah.
Um, my kid's leaving the next week on Friday. As usual in Hollywood, we have the weekend, nothing Monday, nothing Tuesday. Or no, we got a call on Tuesday, and they're like, "Hey, can you come in next week? And we want to screen test you in the costume.
Mm.
They're gonna make some adjustments. We want you in."
Yeah.
And I go, no. And
Wow.
now I know it's Star Wars, untitled Star Wars.
Mm. Yeah.
I'm like, no, I can't. And they're like, oh, what? I'm like, no, my kid's going to college. Um, so, that only happens once. Unlike marriage, I could miss one of those. That might happen more than once. But college, it only happens once. And
Yeah.
I only have
Yeah.
one chance to look at those boys and let
Mm.
them know that her dad's in her life. And
Yeah.
so they were like, maybe you don't get it. This is for Star Wars. And I was like, maybe you don't get it. This is for family. So sorry.
Wow.
Push came to shove.
Yeah.
They were like, what if we had you fly out later? And I was like, No, I'm not missing a day. They're like, you're out of your mind. What if we had you fly back earlier? I was like, no. And then it's scrambling. So my agent's like, I'm going to beat you to death. Uh, Wednesday comes. Uh, Thursday, they call in the morning and they're like, tomorrow, can you do a screen test tomorrow?
Wow.
I was like, yeah, I'm good. So they set
Wow.
it up. I went down and uh, it was fun. I don't know what it was about this guy. I didn't know anything. Like
Mm.
it would seem like I know everything. And I just had a confidence about how I saw this character.
Yep.
And I worked with my wife, who's an incredible actress and is also
Mm.
does coaching for people. And so
Yep.
she worked with me. We went and did it. I walked in that room. I put on the costume. The boots didn't fit. The one thing that they could have bought that fit me, they were size 12. I'm a 10, but whatever. I'm going to make do. I don't tell anybody. But I'm walking in and they're like, how does it feel? They're all very, impressed themselves. And I don't know what it was, but I was like, it's pretty awesome, but you got to drop the holster down. This rifle's way too long. You got to put a magnet here so that we can pull this rifle because you want me to pull because that looks beautiful. And I'm telling John and Dave Filoni
Yeah.
things about a character 5 minutes in. I haven't even done the audition yet.
Yeah.
And I'm telling
Perfect
them,
though.
drop this, do that, da, da, da. And they're taking notes. And it doesn't dawn on me. Like it did not dawn on me. I probably was 3 weeks later that I went, what the? I was like in a fugue state, just functioning. And anyway, so I did it, and sure enough, uh, it was great. John said one thing. I think you're really uh, overselling the walk. And I said, you
Right.
know what? I got to be honest with you. I'm like the guy in Mad Magazine whose shoe is like kind of bending at the end because his foot's so long. These are just too big. He goes, what? You've been doing this whole thing? I
Do
was
you,
like, yeah.
so you're already like you're doing the screen test and you're already asking for customizations and everything like that. I mean, going from that journey um to get to being there to begin that screen test, given that you had that background that you mentioned earlier about your grandfather being the legendary and iconic Western film star John Wayne,
Yeah.
it has been sort of foretold now in pop culture that the Mandalorian is kind of like a space cowboy, if you will. So
I
going
mean,
into that screen test, did you have kind of that feeling of like intimidation, or did you feel like it was sort of almost like an evolution of what your grandfather had done, like now a space variant version? Like, how did you feel like going into that, given your family
I,
history?
I think, first of all, John and Dave made it really easy
Yep.
not to get overwhelmed into the idea that I'm going to be, you know, behind the legend that is, my grandfather. Because when I think of granddaddy, my grandfather, I I think of the guy who, we fished off the end of his pier, off his boat, you know, his shorts were too short and he was old, you know. When I think of John Wayne, I think of this bigger than life
Mm,
idea and the ideals with which he reported his career.
yep.
And that was real. There's a big difference. And with John and Dave, they were quick to be like, here, so I want you to pattern it after John had learned from Iron Man how not to look like a bobblehead in a, helmet and what he needs to do.
Yep.
And then at the same time, yeah, I can hear my children. Can you hear them?
Nah.
Oh, that's funny. Hey, you guys, I can hear you. Shut. Anyways, but so they were like, hey, we want you to look at Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Terminator and Yul Brynner in Westworld. Because when he begins, it's this character who is uh, um, he's not soulless, but it's close.
Yeah.
And so he's very robotic. And if you look at the way they did their performances, those two, in those respective shows, uh, it's phenomenal.
Mm.
So to be able to have that as the thing, and then I worked with my wife, who's an incredible acting coach, Sarah. She's a incredible actor. That's how we met.
Yes.
And now she acts and like worked on Lilo and Stitch to train the kid for that, and Maya and everything. And like uh, so I got in a comfortable place, and I also got to a point in my life where I no longer thought that the next set of cards was going to be the one that I won $1 million and beat Vegas on,
Right.
if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so that really helped being able to take it in that sense. And it kept away from my grandfather, and he kept slowing me down physically. And what happens is then the same things that John Ford told my grandfather,
Mm.
John Favreau's telling me, and there's a similar effect. Now, Granddaddy 6'5", 260, me 6 foot 180. But that was when I realized I am of him,
Right.
because you could just see it. And it was just about slowing down and being purposeful in every movement. And I studied kabuki, and I worked in mask constantly to try to feel how I could radiate.
Mm.
And then I watched Clint and I watched my grandfather, and quite often the we part of the crew, um, along with the homework that my grandfather did or Clint did or Van Cleef did or Lee Marvin, those great people whose presence precedes their words, and
Mm.
their words become second to everything else.
Right.
And that was an incredible thing to see, to watch John understand what kind of shot, or Dave understand what kind of shot he wanted, or Rick, whichever director it is. And then at the same time, you know, to know, okay, I'm going to do my job.
Right.
I'm not doing anybody else's. And I'm so lucky to
Yeah.
be in Star Wars. Like, I'm an adult, and they're building these sets,
Mm.
and they're everything I imagined, but better. And
Yeah.
they're adult size. And I get to go play in this. And so it's really easy to lose yourself, and you don't get, you know, it's not that I didn't have insecurities. It was that I focused on the job
Right.
and the moment rather than the Titanic
Yeah.
that it could have been. Because when you focus on that thing, of course you're going to hit an iceberg.
Yeah.
But if you just focus on the job, then you're not, you're not in there. So, yeah, it was an incredible thing to feel like you were contributing from the beginning. Because usually you go on a set, it's already been established,
Yeah.
and you're just a part that comes in and out.
Mm.
This is the beginning. And this is, John and Dave like to make the joke of, hey, no pressure. This is just Star Wars is riding on this. We fail, we'll never see another good one. And they joke around, and you're just like,
Thanks.
but then, me being me, I'm like, yeah, well, you ain't seen nothing yet, buddy. And it's like, let's
I've had
go.
Vegemite, so
Yeah.
don't mess with me. They're like, what? Get off. Go
I'm
away.
gonna try to eat Vegemite. I've eaten a lot of things during scenes, where I don't have to speak under
Yeah.
the helmet. I literally have it written down in my script. I was eating red vines. I was eating a banana. I ate a Rice Krispie treat right there.
Perfect. Um, you mentioned earlier about the costumes and the set, how from what you're saying is it allows you to be more immersive, allows you to sort of get in that character a lot easier.
Yeah.
How is it for you now playing the Mandalorian? When you go to these conventions, because as I mentioned, coming down here to see the Supernova. The first time you did those conventions, excluding Star Wars Celebration, because that's kind of a given, but those other conventions where you start seeing people come up with, Grogu, Baby Yoda, come up as the
Yeah.
Mandalorian, come up as Boba Fett. Um, was that kind of like because these aren't the Disney Star Wars props. These are stuff that these
No.
guys have like crafted and made. I mean, what was that like for you? Because we get like there should be quite a fair few of them down here as well. But what is that like to see kind of a version of you, if you will, there? And you're like, oh, is it honor? Like, do you feel like a compliment, like a physical compliment? Like, how is that for you? Like seeing that?
I am first of all blown away, and I people have come uh, with all kind of means. Like not everybody can have a costume made or printed for them. So
Yeah.
you have these people who come in, they're like, "Yeah, I made this," and you look at it, and you're like you made it out of cardboard boxes that came from your uh, sodas or your
Mm,
Capri Suns, whatever it is, your juice box, and
mm.
I'm looking at it going, "You
How?
guys are like,
Yeah.
thank you for being the Mandalorian," and I'm looking at you guys going, you guys made like that's a commitment. I got
Mm,
paid to get in the suit. Like if I didn't like it, I was still getting something out of it.
yeah.
You're doing this because your love and passion is second to none. And
Right.
then you meet the 501st or the Mando Mercs and
Yep.
these guys who go around and do things that are absolutely uh incredible. I wish Lucasfilm and Disney would let me go in the costume and go to the hospitals and
Yeah.
go see the kids because these guys who go do this, it's amazing. These kids that light up, and we had some Make-A-Wish come to set a few times, and it always makes me so excited.
Mm,
So to watch these kids come up with their Grogu, and it's just maybe it's this Grogu that's this big,
mm,
whatever it is, and it means the world to them, and it's somebody that they have like you hear the stories behind it, and you're like, oh, your kid is is has autism, and this is something that you guys do together, and then
mm.
the kid will play with their you know uh, Grogu or Mando, and it somehow creates a synapse that allows them to communicate in a way that they otherwise would not. And you're like, I'm part of something
Yeah.
so much better than myself. And I mean that wholeheartedly. Like when we
Mm,
make The Mandalorian, as much as I put into it, as much as I'm in the suit, as much as I'm doing what I'm doing, uh, there's nothing without the backgrounds, without
sure.
Richard Bluff, without, Bud, without Steve, without my grips like Diego, who literally is as good as, or thinks he is at least, as good as Filoni with the canon of Star Wars, and will literally correct you as you're about to start a scene. He's like, I don't know if you could do that because of this. And I'm literally looking at him like, dude, I became an actor because I wasn't good at school. I'm not going back in history. If someone
Mm,
needs me to change it, we'll do it. And he's like,
yeah.
you might change canon. I'm like, okay, what? So, it's amazing to be a part of um, something that the crew grew up with. I mean, this
Yeah.
is a long running mythology that we've paid attention to with everything in our souls, most
Mm,
of us. And the
yeah.
crew itself, they're as big a fans as anybody at a con. And
Yeah, for
so
sure.
it's an incredible honor to be, have these people walk up in these amazing costumes. And I don't care if it's somebody wrote on a piece of paper and it's made his face. What I found is that it's given him meaning. So
Yeah.
I'm incredibly humbled to be a
Is
part of it.
like for yourself, I mean, it's almost like a full circle moment. Like you mentioned earlier about going to that initial audition, if you will, for lack of a better term, and seeing that box with the Boba Fett armor and having that sort
Yeah,
of childish reaction. And now that you've played this very iconic character,
yeah,
they are now the ones that they are now sharing that feeling that they had. They're opening up that box, they're seeing that show, they see you, and it's almost like the circle of life is complete in some weird way.
no,
Um,
yeah,
but with that comes naturally a lot of fame. Like, given that the character is masked, but obviously, the credits are what they are, and they say that it's you.
yeah,
How does that make fame easier for you, given that it was a hidden character, or does it is it
100%.
still like the same? Like, does it
No,
differ at all?
yeah, it's not even close. I don't have some fans, half the fans
Yeah.
would know who I was walking out and about
Mm,
with my kids.
right.
Maybe
Mm,
anybody who's not a fan.
yeah.
Hey, I love the show. Great. That's not a fan to me. That's somebody who just loves the show. Not a Star Wars guy. But when you go Star Wars
Mm,
fan, that's somebody who understands the David Prowses who walked, like,
Invader.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's incredibly freeing for me because I'm able to coach my kids and be on the sideline and nobody bothers me for the
Yep.
most part. Although I did have one high school that found out and then I signed autographs for a little while. But
Oh,
like for the
awesome.
most part, they stay. Oh, uh-oh. Are you still there? Oh, there
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
go.
Yep.
For the most part, I get to just be, my kid's dad.
Yep.
And it's really, for me, it's really cool because I do know from my experience in life with my mom and her father being John Wayne, that, couldn't, he couldn't, famous story of him going to the bathroom at a meal with a director he was working with, and he comes back and he's patting his leg, and the director goes, Duke, and he goes, a guy recognized me again. And it wasn't uncommon for guys to, be at the urinal, turn to him and be like, "Oh my God, you're John Wayne." And he'd be like, "You're pissing on my leg." And it happened. He actually said it to Michael Caine. He's
Oh,
like,
wow.
"You're that guy, that kid in Alfie. You're going to be a good actor. Do you mind if I give you some advice?" And he goes, "No." I go, "Please." And he goes, "Don't wear suede shoes." And he told him, and that was it. Like he was wearing some blue suede shoes or purple velvet shoes is what it was.
Yep.
And Michael Caine tells it, and it's so brilliant. But I'd heard the story from my mom.
Yeah.
We had to run from, you know, adoring fans, like
Mm,
just but for the most part, they were a lot more respectful of, that kind of stuff.
yeah. Because
But yeah,
I remember like I think the only variable um was well, ironically I went to Supanova one time, which is why I'm bringing it up. And Ray Park, Darth Maul was there. And that was kind of like he was saying a similar thing where it's like, yeah, it's my face, but it's not.
yeah,
So it's kind of I get to go down the road and I get to just do my 9 to 5.
yeah,
But if you put a lightsaber in my hand and I move it a certain way, everyone's like, "Oh, it's him," and he's like,
yeah,
he goes, probably that would be the only giveaway. But yeah, being a masked character, yeah, I mean, I mean, it's just fantastic, and like the fact too that you have that family history there. And
yeah,
I just think it's so cool. I mean, I'm only a fan, but for you, I just think it's so nice that it is kind of like a space western, and had that guy not been able to do it and you come along, and it it's just that it's like that Jeff Goldblum phrase from Jurassic Park, life finds a way.
yeah,
Um, and I just, yeah, man, like I'm just, I don't know, like this is a trip for me, and I'm just wanting to say, like, I'm so happy for you, and thank you for everything that you've done for not only the Star Wars community, but just, just even the general fans in general. 'Cause it's so engaging, and it's quite literally been, I think, the most captivating Star Wars show that's come out in like the last, I don't know how long, since probably the Clone Wars animated series. Like it's been like
yeah,
that, and then this, um, and it's just it. I mean, it turned quite literally. It turned into like a religion. I mean, some people are quite literally that religious about Star Wars, but
yeah. But
um,
it reminds me of the same way the Western, which is what Lucas had talked about. They wouldn't let him do a Western, so he did
mm,
New Hope. And the idea of the code of the West and the
yep,
cowboy and that whole thing. It's the creed of the Mandalorian. And
mm,
it's
mm,
not, you believe in the creed and that's it. You just go forward and you just recite it.
yeah,
If anything, Mando is the exact thing that the Cowboys were, which is have a code, question it moment to moment, make it
mm,
live, make it prove itself constantly.
yep,
Because without that, there's no passion, there's no foundation to go. And I think every nation fights to find their creed and code and to reinvigorate that among its people so that they
mm,
understand there's something bigger than themselves. And
yep,
we get so caught up. And I'm so like, I am very cognizant of the fact that I'm part of a show that means something to kids and grandpas alike,
Mm,
and they're able to connect in a
mm,
way that otherwise maybe they didn't get to in genres,
mm.
Western and sci-fi, that they otherwise were unable to. And that's an incredible gift. And I know I if I could play Mando till the day I died, and I almost did,
Oh,
second season, uh, I would because it's it never gets old. So like when
yeah,
fans are like, "Oh, you must hate this," I'm like, "Well, I don't know why." I mean, I love it the same way you do. I may not have the encyclopedic knowledge some do, and I can always learn, and I love that about this universe. But what I do know is I love Star Wars, and it
yeah,
changed who I was when I was a kid, and it allowed me to believe I could when I was an adult, and I
mm,
did. And
mm,
that's an incredible gift that Mr. Lucas and Filoni and Favreau gave me. So
mm.
I'll take it, and I'm gonna always honor it.
Well, I mean, you, sir, have been an incredible gift to us. I mean,
Yeah.
what you do is fantastic, and I've kept you way longer than I think is legally allowed in the state of state of Maine. I don't know. But again, I will wrap it up here, and I just want to say, I can't begin to tell you the plethora of people that I've told about how excited I've been for this. And I just wanted to say thank you very much. Unfortunately, I don't live in Sydney or Perth, but I am near the Gold Coast and Brisbane. So if you ever get booked for either one of those conventions, I'll make sure to shake your hand in person and just thank you again for your time and everything you've done.
Hey, tell those guys in the Gold Coast, I'll be glad to go. I love it. I love hanging out, and I appreciate your time. I really do. Thanks for having me on. It is my honor, honestly. And come to see me at Supernova. It's going to be fun. Sydney or Perth, I'll be there. And I'm heading out, I think, tomorrow night. So I'll be there in like 10 days. I don't know how long it takes, but I feel like it's like 10 days. But as we are wont to say, this is the way.
This is the way. Thank you very much.